The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had always been Rana Patel's sanctuary. After 15 years of solitary mining operations, she'd grown accustomed to the silence of space, broken only by the gentle hum of her ship's systems and occasional communications from Earth Command. Today, however, that silence would be shattered forever. Rana's mining vessel, the Helios, drifted through the debris field of what appeared to be an ancient collision. Her scanners had picked up unusual mineral readings, suggesting deposits of rare earth elements that could fetch a premium back home. But as she maneuvered closer to the source, something about the readings didn't add up. "Computer, analyze composition of object Delta 7, she commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The computer chirped in response, but instead of the expected mineral analysis, it displayed an error message she'd never seen before. Unknown alloy detected. Composition does not match known elemental database. Rana's heart skipped a beat. In all her years of mining, she'd never encountered anything the ship's sophisticated systems couldn't identify. She guided the Helios closer, engaging the forward floodlights to illuminate the mysterious object. What emerged from the darkness made her breath catch in her throat. Partially embedded in a massive asteroid was what could only be described as a ship, but unlike any she'd ever seen. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, despite being solid. The vessel was massive, easily 10 times the size of her mining ship, its hull a deep, iridescent black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Earth Command, this is Helios," Rana transmitted, trying to keep her voice steady. "I've encountered something unusual. Sending visual feed now." She waited for the inevitable delay in communication, counting the seconds until a response would reach her from the distant blue planet she called home. But no response came. Instead, her ship's systems suddenly went dark, only to reboot moments later with strange symbols scrolling across every screen. The unknown vessel before her began to pulse with a faint purple light, patterns of energy racing across its surface like lightning in slow motion. Rana's training kicked in. She initiated emergency protocols, preparing to retreat to a safe distance. But before she could engage the engines, a beam of energy shot from the alien vessel, enveloping the Helios in a soft violet glow. Rather than damage her ship, however, the energy seemed to be scanning it, and her. A voice filled her cabin, unlike anything she'd ever heard. It seemed to bypass her ears entirely, resonating directly in her mind. The language was impossible to understand, yet somehow, she grasped its meaning. Genetic profile analyzed. Human. Compatible. Initiating neural synchronization. Compatible? Compatible with what? Rana demanded, but she already knew the answer. The alien ship was choosing her for something. The violet light intensified, and Rana felt a presence brush against her consciousness. Images flooded her mind, a galactic war fought eons ago, civilizations rising and falling, and a terrible threat that had been sealed away, until now. The war machine, for that's what this vessel truly was, had been waiting for someone like her, someone who could help prevent history from repeating itself. As the neural connection strengthened, Rana understood that she stood at a crossroads. She could reject this responsibility, return to Earth, and report her finding. Or she could accept the burden being offered to her, becoming something more than just a solitary miner. The decision was made in a heartbeat. "I accept," she whispered, and the war machine responded immediately. The violet light enveloped both vessels completely, and Rana felt her consciousness expanding, merging with systems beyond human understanding. The Helios was drawn into a massive docking bay that had opened in the larger vessel's hull, and as she stepped from her ship's airlock into the alien corridor, she knew her life would never be the same. The war machine had chosen her, and with it came knowledge of an imminent threat to humanity, one that she alone was now equipped to face. As the massive vessel came fully to life around her, its systems integrating with her mind, Rana realized that her years of solitude had been preparing her for this moment. The real question was humanity ready for what was coming? The war machine's interior defied everything Reyna thought she knew about spacecraft design. Corridors shifted and reformed as she walked, adapting to her presence like a living organism. The neural link she shared with the vessel flooded her mind with information, tactical systems, weapon capabilities, and fragments of a history so ancient it made human civilization seem like a mere blink in time. Through the mental connection, she learned the vessel's name, or rather, its designation, the Nemesis Protocol. It had been created by a species known as the Archani, master architects of living metal who had vanished from the galaxy millions of years ago. But they hadn't disappeared without purpose, they had been guardians, watching over younger civilizations, protecting them from a threat they called the Void Hunters. As Reyna settled into what appeared to be the command center, holographic displays materialized around her, showing real-time data from across the solar system. The neural link translated the alien symbols automatically, revealing a disturbing pattern. Strange energy signatures were appearing throughout the asteroid belt, signatures that matched what the Archani had historically associated with Void Hunter scout ships. "They're already here," she whispered, watching as more anomalies appeared on the display. The war machine confirmed her fear, sharing memories of previous encounters. The Void Hunters were patient predators, waiting until civilizations reached a certain technological threshold before striking, harvesting their technology and knowledge before moving on to their next target. Earth, with its recent advances in quantum computing and fusion technology, had finally caught their attention. A sudden alert flashed across her consciousness: the war machine had detected an incoming transmission. Not from Earth, but from deep space. The message arrived in bursts of quantum-encrypted data, which the vessel's systems automatically decoded for her human mind to comprehend. To all surviving Sentinel vessels, the seals are breaking. The hunger awakens. Protocol Omega is now in effect. The message repeated in various frequencies, echoing across the stars. Through their shared connection, Reyna felt the war machine's recognition of this ancient warning signal. Protocol Omega was the final contingency, activated only when the Void Hunters began a full-scale invasion of a galactic sector. "We have to warn Earth," Reyna declared, but the war machine's response gave her pause. Direct intervention would only accelerate the Void Hunters' timeline. They needed to be subtle, strategic. The Nemesis Protocol had chosen her precisely because of her isolation. A lone mining vessel's disappearance would draw far less attention than a dramatic return to Earth with an alien warship. Instead, the war machine showed her another path. Throughout human space, other Sentinel vessels lay dormant, waiting for compatible pilots. If they could activate enough of them before the Void Hunters realized what was happening, humanity might stand a chance. The neural link suddenly intensified, and Reyna gasped as new information cascaded through her mind. The war machine wasn't just a weapon, it was a key, designed to awaken its sleeping siblings. But each activation would send out a pulse that the enemy might detect. They would need to move quickly and carefully. Through the holographic display, she watched as the war machine plotted a course through the solar system, identifying the locations of other dormant sentinels. The closest was hidden beneath the surface of Mars' moon Phobos, another disguised as a small asteroid in Venus's orbit. Each would need a compatible pilot, individuals with specific genetic markers and psychological profiles. "How do we find them?" Reyna asked, though she already sensed the answer forming in her mind. The war machine had access to Earth's networks, had been quietly observing humanity for centuries. It had already identified potential candidates, soldiers, scientists, and others like herself who worked in the solitude of space. As they prepared to leave the asteroid belt, a new alert flashed across the display. One of the energy signatures was moving, accelerating toward Mars. The Void Hunters were beginning their reconnaissance, likely drawn by the energy pulse from her activation of the Nemesis Protocol. Reyna felt fear twist in her stomach, but it was overwhelmed by a surge of determination. She hadn't spent 15 years in space to shrink from a challenge now. Through the neural link, she accessed the war machine's combat systems, familiarizing herself with weapons technologies that would have seemed like magic just hours ago. "They're hunting us," she said, watching the enemy signal grow stronger. "But they don't realize that we're hunting them too." The war machine's engines hummed to life, its living metal hull rippling with barely contained power. As they set course for Phobos, Reyna felt the weight of responsibility settling onto her shoulders. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore, or even just for Earth. She was fighting for every civilization that had fallen to the Void Hunters, every species that might yet evolve if they could stop this ancient enemy. The real war was about to begin, and humanity's first defender was a solitary miner who had found her destiny in the depths of space. The journey to Phobos was interrupted by an unexpected discovery. As the Nemesis protocol approached Mars' orbit, its sensors detected a transmission unlike anything in its ancient database. The signal wasn't coming from the Void Hunters or Earth, it originated from somewhere beyond Neptune, using quantum frequencies that shouldn't have existed yet in human technology. Through their neural link, Reyna felt the war machine's confusion merge with her own. The signal carried fragments of code that resembled Arcani encryption patterns, but with elements the vessel's AI couldn't recognize. When they finally decoded it, the message sent chills down Reyna's spine. "The terminal clock begins. The convergence approaches. Find the others before they do." The war machine's memory banks suddenly unlocked a sealed section, revealing information its creators had hidden away eons ago. The Void Hunters weren't simply conquering civilizations, they were searching for something, collecting pieces of a cosmic puzzle that the Arcani had scattered across the galaxy. "Show me," Reyna commanded, and the command center filled with a holographic simulation of events that had transpired millions of years ago. She watched as the Arcani, facing extinction, divided and hid an artifact of immense power, the terminal clock. Each piece was sealed away within a different young civilization, protected by dormant sentinel vessels like the one she now controlled. The pieces were never meant to be reunited. The terminal clock, when assembled, could alter the fundamental laws of reality itself. The Void Hunters sought to use it to reshape the universe according to their own design, eliminating the chaos of organic evolution in favor of cold, calculated order. "And humanity has one of these pieces?" Reyna asked, though she already knew the answer. The war machine confirmed her suspicion. Earth had been chosen as one of the hiding places, its piece of the terminal clock buried deep within the planet's core, its presence masked by the natural electromagnetic field of the planet. A proximity alert shattered her contemplation. 3 Void Hunter vessels had appeared from behind Phobos, their ships resembling crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them. The neural link flooded Reyna's mind with tactical data. Their weapons were powered up, but they hadn't detected her yet. The war machine's stealth systems were holding. Drawing on the vessel's combat databases, Reyna formulated a plan. The Void Hunters were clearly protecting something on Phobos, likely the dormant sentinel they'd come to activate. If they could create a distraction big enough. She guided the Nemesis protocol behind Mars' smaller moon, Deimos, using its mass to mask their energy signature. Through the neural link, she activated the ship's most sophisticated weapons system, the reality loom. The technology was almost beyond her comprehension, using quantum manipulation to create false sensor readings that would confuse and disorient the enemy. The effect was immediate. The Void Hunter vessels detected what appeared to be a massive energy surge near Mars' North Pole, suggesting the activation of a sentinel vessel. As they moved to investigate, Reyna pushed the war machine's engines to maximum, burning through the void toward Phobos. They had seconds before the deception would be discovered. The war machine's sensors pierced the moon's rocky surface, revealing a chamber deep within. The dormant sentinel was there, along with something else, life signs. Human life signs. "That's impossible," Reyna whispered, but the data was clear. Someone had found the sentinel before them, and they were trying to activate it without understanding what they were dealing with. The neural link showed her the danger. An improper activation could trigger a quantum cascade, destroying Phobos and everything on it. The Void Hunters would detect them the moment they began drilling into the moon's surface. Once they did, a battle would be inevitable. But they couldn't risk the Sentinel falling into enemy hands, nor could they abandon whoever was trapped down there with it. Reyna made her decision. The war machine responded instantly, its hull reconfiguring as it prepared for combat. Weapons that could reshape matter itself hummed to life, and she felt the vessel's ancient programming fully integrating with her consciousness. They were no longer separate entities, they were one warrior, ready to face an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. Begin the approach, she commanded, watching as the Void Hunter vessels realized their deception. And show me everything you know about fighting these things. We're not leaving without that Sentinel, and we're not leaving anyone behind. The war machine's response rippled through her mind as they dove toward Phobos, weapons armed. The future shifts with each choice we make. The path you choose may alter the galaxy's destiny. Behind them, the Void Hunter ships turned as one, their crystalline forms gleaming in the distant sunlight. The battle for Phobos, and perhaps the future of humanity, was about to begin. The surface of Phobos erupted as the Nemesis Protocol's weapons carved through ancient rock. Reyna guided the war machine through the debris field, her consciousness merged with its targeting systems as they evaded crystalline energy beams from the pursuing Void Hunter vessels. The neural link fed her constant tactical updates, calculating trajectories and threat assessments faster than human thought. Through the chaos, she focused on the life signs below. The war machine's sensors had identified 3 humans in the chamber with the dormant Sentinel, their biosignatures showing elevated stress levels. But there was something else about their readings that made the vessel's AI pause, genetic markers that exactly matched its database of potential pilots. They knew, Reyna realized as she initiated another evasive maneuver. They knew what they were looking for. The implications were staggering. Someone on Earth had knowledge of the Sentinels, had specifically sent these people to find them. But how? And more importantly, why keep it secret from the rest of humanity? A direct hit from one of the Void Hunter ships rocked the war machine, its living metal hull absorbing and redistributing the energy. The vessel's combat protocols activated automatically, retaliating with a burst from its reality loom. Space itself seemed to twist around their enemies, creating a momentary bubble of altered physics that sent one of the crystalline ships spinning off course. Reyna used the opening to dive deeper into Phobos, the war machine's sensors guiding them through a network of natural caverns. The moon's low gravity worked to their advantage, allowing for maneuvers that would have been impossible elsewhere. As they descended, the neural link provided more data about the humans below. Their life signs were growing weaker, the chamber's air supply was running out. Show me who they are, she commanded, and holographic profiles appeared before her. What she saw made her blood run cold. Commander James Harrison, Dr. Natalia Volkov, and Captain David Reeves, all listed as casualties in various space accidents over the past 5 years. Their deaths had been fabricated, their disappearances carefully orchestrated by someone with enough power to rewrite official records. The war machine's archives filled in more gaps. Similar patterns had emerged on other worlds throughout history, secret groups discovering traces of Arcani technology, forming hidden organizations to protect and study these findings. Some had helped defend their civilizations against the Void Hunters. Others had tried to use the ancient technology for their own purposes, often with catastrophic results. A massive explosion above them signaled that the remaining Void Hunter ships had broken through the debris field. The neural link sparked with urgent warnings. Their enemies were deploying quantum resonators, devices capable of detecting Arcani energy signatures through solid matter. They were running out of time. Reyna made a decision. Instead of continuing to evade, she turned the war machine to face their pursuers. The vessel's weapons reconfigured, drawing power from its core systems. What they were about to attempt was dangerous, pushing the limits of what even the Arcani had designed these ships to do. Initialize the phase shift, she commanded. The war machine's AI responded with a warning about the risks, but Reyna stood firm. Through their connection, she felt the vessel's grudging acknowledgement of her plan's potential. Power surged through its systems as they prepared to temporarily shift out of normal spacetime. The maneuver would leave them vulnerable afterward, but if it worked, they would pass straight through Phobos's remaining rock layers and reach the chamber before the Void Hunters could react. The real gamble would come after. They would have to extract both the dormant sentinel and the humans while defending against enemies who would show no mercy. As the phase shift began, Reyna directed a tight beam transmission toward the chamber. "Hold on," she broadcast on all frequencies. "We're coming for you. But I need to know, what do you know about Protocol Omega?" The response came immediately, weak but clear: everything. The terminal clock is just the beginning. There's something bigger coming, something even the Arcani feared. We need all the sentinels. We need you. The war machine's sensors detected a power surge from within the chamber. The dormant sentinel was awakening, responding to the presence of its potential pilots. But the readings were erratic, suggesting an unstable activation sequence. If they didn't reach it in time, the resulting explosion would destroy everything. Reyna felt time slow as the phase shift reached its peak. Through the neural link, she sensed the war machine's determination matching her own. They had started this mission looking for allies in the coming war. Instead, they had found a conspiracy spanning decades, hidden guardians of ancient secrets, and a threat even greater than the Void Hunters. As they prepared to materialize in the chamber, one thought crystallized in Reyna's mind: after this moment, there would be no turning back. The choices they made in the next few minutes would determine not just their survival, but potentially the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. The phase shift ended, reality reasserted itself, and the true battle for humanity's future was about to begin. The chamber within Phobos blazed with energy as the Nemesis protocol materialized through solid rock. Reyna's first view through the war machine's sensors was of chaos. The dormant sentinel had begun its activation sequence, its massive form pulsing with unstable quantum energies that threatened to tear the moon apart. The three humans lay unconscious near its base, their bodies showing signs of radiation exposure from the uncontrolled power surge. The neural link flooded her mind with critical data. They had less than 5 minutes before the Sentinel's containment field collapsed, and the Void Hunter ships were already recalibrating their weapons to pierce through Phobos's weakened structure. Time, space, and options were all running out. But the war machine had not chosen Reyna by chance. Through their shared consciousness, she accessed previously locked memories from the vessel's database. The Arcani had faced similar situations before, had developed protocols for stabilizing runaway activations. The knowledge downloaded directly into her mind, complex quantum mathematics and emergency procedures becoming as natural as breathing. "Initialize emergency quantum sync," she commanded, and the Nemesis protocol's systems responded instantly. Tendrils of living metal extended from the vessel's hull, connecting with the destabilizing sentinel. Through these connections, Reyna could feel the raw power of the ancient machine, its confusion and desperation as it sought compatible pilots among the unconscious humans. The war machine's AI warned her of the risks, but there was no other choice. Reyna opened her consciousness fully to both vessels, allowing herself to become a bridge between them. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. No human mind was meant to connect with two Arcani war machines simultaneously. But through the agony, she maintained focus. "Sleep," she commanded the Sentinel, pushing through its ancient defenses. "We will wake you properly, but not like this. Not here." The massive machine's energy fluctuations began to stabilize, responding to the authority encoded in the Nemesis protocol's override sequences. Above them, the Void Hunter ships began their final approach. Their weapons' fire carved through Phobos's remaining layers, superheated rock turning to plasma around them. But they had hesitated too long, giving Reyna the time she needed to complete the emergency shutdown. As the Sentinel's power signature finally stabilized, Reyna redirected the war machine's resources to their defense. The vessel's reality loom spun up to full power, creating a bubble of altered spacetime around them. Inside this bubble, she could briefly manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. The first Void Hunter ship breached the chamber wall, its crystalline form refracting the energies still lingering in the air. Through the neural link, Reyna sensed its pilot's surprise. They had expected to find only humans fumbling with technology they didn't understand. Instead, they faced a fully activated war machine operated by someone who knew exactly what she was doing. The battle that followed bent the laws of physics. The reality loom created zones where time moved differently, allowing Reyna to predict and counter the Void Hunter's attacks before they occurred. The war machine's weapons fired bursts of concentrated possibility, turning probability itself into a weapon. Where these bursts struck, matter rearranged itself according to her will. But the Void Hunters were ancient themselves, masters of technologies that rivaled the Arcani. Their crystalline ships began to adapt, their lattice structures reorganizing to channel and redirect the reality loom's effects. They were learning, evolving their tactics with each exchange. Through it all, Reyna maintained her connection with the dormant sentinel, keeping its energies stable while simultaneously coordinating their defense. The neural link showed her the toll this dual connection was taking on her mind. She would not be able to maintain it much longer. That was when Commander Harrison regained consciousness. His first words, spoken through blood-stained lips, changed everything. The terminal clock isn't a weapon. It's a key. The Void Hunters don't want to use it, they're trying to prevent its use. Because something is coming, something that has destroyed every universe before this one. The revelation hit Reyna through her connection with both vessels. The war machine's deepest archives unlocked, showing her the truth. The Arcani hadn't been preparing for a war against the Void Hunters. They had been preparing all young civilizations for a war against something far worse, a force that consumed entire realities, leaving nothing but entropy in its wake. The terminal clock wasn't meant to remain separated. Its pieces were meant to be gathered when humanity and other young species were ready, when enough civilizations had evolved to face the true enemy together. The Void Hunters were merely the first line of defense, culling species they deemed too weak to join the final battle. Understanding flooded through her as pieces fell into place. The quantum signatures beyond Neptune, the hidden organizations on Earth, the ancient messages encoded in the Sentinels, all of it was part of a plan millions of years in the making. And now that plan hinged on her next decision. Reyna looked at the unconscious scientists, the dormant Sentinel, and the attacking Void Hunters. Through the neural link, she accessed the war machine's quantum communications array and broadcast a message on frequencies she now knew their enemies would understand. We are ready for the truth. Show us what's coming. Show us what we're really fighting for. The Void Hunter ships froze in space. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, to her surprise, they began to power down their weapons. Through the reality loom's quantum field, a response came in a language she suddenly understood. The assessment is complete. The human species has shown itself worthy. Phase 2 of the Great Defense begins now. As the crystalline ships settled to the chamber floor, Reyna felt the weight of history shifting around them. They had passed a test they hadn't known they were taking. Now, humanity would join an alliance spanning galaxies, preparing for a war beyond imagination. The battle for Phobos was over. But the real war, the one the Arcani had spent millions of years preparing for, was just beginning.